An X payments account just went live on X. It's a verified account. Everyone's speculating that it's coming soon. If you had to make a prediction, would DogeCoin be integrated as a payment option?
I mean, problem with crypto is it's like not tangible. It's like you're sort of working with something mystical or magical. But for me, DePIN is like integrating blockchain solutions into actual infrastructure projects.
There's more money to make in altcoins, but at the same time, like you can't always pick altcoins. I'll probably hold like a major bag in Bitcoin the whole way through.
The Greyscale BTC ETF for a while now just overnight saw gains for no reason other than their product was now backed by a real Bitcoin.
Alrighty, g'day guys, welcome back to another episode of Tapping into Crypto. My name's Ted and I'm joined by the daddest man on the planet, Mr. Pav Hundal.
I prefer that intro.
Yeah?
Yeah, that suits me, Pav.
I'm glad I finally got one that you like. Pav, it's been an interesting week. The market's kind of tanked a little bit.
I thought you were going to say the cricket was good.
Oh,
well, that's been interesting.
Australia wrapped it up first session of day 3.
Josh Brown last night.
Well, yeah, the Big Bash as well. But
yeah,
hey,
but Big Bash. Who would have thought?
We're not a cricket podcast, we're a crypto podcast. So I know you're dying to let everyone know your thoughts on the market. Let's hear them.
Am I dying?
Yes.
All right, I'm dying. All right. Interesting one, I guess, from last week where we left off. We talked about previously these March 2022 highs being of significance. I think what's come out since then and now, which we've got a news article that I'll share as well, FTX, your favorite boy, SBF's estate, they've got obviously under administration, liquidators, etc. They've got sort of mandates to sell down assets. They were holding something towards a sum of 22 million GBTC ETF stocks. So
Greyscale,
the Greyscale ETF, and the most notable thing with the Greyscale ETF is it's been around since 2013, I believe. Barry Silbert's product from Digital Currency Group, and they converted to a spot product. So prior to it being a spot product, it was all backed by derivatives. So what that means, I guess, in plain English, there were higher fees, there were administration costs in managing that position that people were getting exposure to. Essentially, it wasn't tracking Bitcoin's price completely. It was always at a bit of a discount because it wasn't perceived as being as equal exposure as just straight Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Spot ETF has changed that, and that we've had that conversion. So now it's just purely for Bitcoin. And the market's priced in, I guess, what was best described as a premium. So discount moving into just more equal market value, matching the other ETFs out there. A whole bunch of people that have been holding the Greyscale BTC ETF for a while now just overnight saw gains for no reason other than their product was now backed by a real Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And FTX is one of those guys. So as soon as that ETF launched, I've got it here on the chart, 11th of January. It's still not confirmed, but reported through insiders on a few Bloomberg articles. That's when they started selling their product because it had that markup priced in. And it's interesting. It's pretty much around that March 2022 high that we've been sort of talking about for a while. But we saw a massive selling reaction there, which is what we were kind of expecting. But it's interesting to hear that fundamentally in the news, FTX were likely at that point selling off almost $1 billion worth of Bitcoin shares. So what do you think of that?
So they're selling off in order to pay back some of their former users.
Correct. Yeah, it's just part of the ongoing procedure there, being under administration. It's just that estate, it's been bankrupt. So they obviously, if you bankrupt, you've got assets. They try and trim those assets to pay back any liabilities. So yeah, a bit of an interesting one.
But are you saying that this is probably the reason for this major crash there, or not major crash, but small dip?
Not entirely, but it definitely adds to the narrative.
Yeah.
Like, I think in any case, if you were an investor or, a serious trader, you're probably eyeing off monthly levels anyway. So if it wasn't for this, it may have still had the same reaction, but I think you could probably make the assumption it's added a bit of fuel to the fire.
Yeah.
Sure. So, but what's, I guess we've seen over the weekend, we were waiting to see if this previous low, this sort of ascending trend, if it was going to hold, if it was going to crack and break, and we had the bearish, I guess, scenario play out. So, we've been looking at about 42K to be a pretty significant point leading into this weekly open. Saturday, Sunday just went sideways, and then leading into Monday. So usually 10 a.m. is when we have the weekly close, Australian Eastern Standard Time. We saw just, a couple of hours of just continuous selling from about midnight last night onwards. So not good, I guess, if you're a bull, but I mean, there is a possibility from what I'm seeing just technically for this move to potentially kick higher. It really just comes down to the next few days. And there's still a chance, like in my eyes, leading into February, leading into, the next couple of weeks even, the chance of a relief rally on Bitcoin. So we may not see new highs or year-to-date highs. But even if Bitcoin were to start going sideways and grinding up towards, 44, 45K, that would still be the potential for a then further sell-off, like a much harder sell-off, which I know you're going to touch on soon. We do sort of see a sell-off leading into the halving, but that could be the 4 to 8 to 6 weeks of price action we need on Bitcoin for a lot of altcoins to probably have their next big leg up. So
yeah, from my perspective, I don't mind this. I think this provides I guess one of the last opportunities to buy the dip before we see that Bitcoin halving. I guess if you look back at previous cycles, you'll notice, particularly in 2020, or when was last halving? 2019. Or 2020.
2020, yeah, May 11th.
Yeah, so there was like a small dip right before that halving, and then we saw that huge run up. That dip was also in correlation with like the COVID kind of crisis that we had there.
Yeah, it's a bit of a weird one, but I mean, you can even go back to 2016.
Yeah, exactly. You see a small dip right before the halving, and then that huge run up again. So look, I'm not too worried about this. Like, we dropped below 39, and people kind of see that 40K mark as more of a psychological barrier, and we dropped below that, and I guess it was panic stations for a few people online, but I think it's healthy. Like, it's a healthy correction before we have that, what we think is going to be a bull market this year and into 2025 as well. So I'm seeing this opportunity to, dollar cost average. We always talk about into some of those majors, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana. I'm adding more of my portfolio allocation to Solana because I still think it has a lot of legs from here.
Are you looking at a certain time to move your Bitcoin into something like Solana, or is your Bitcoin you're holding that the whole way through, do you feel?
I'll probably hold like a major bag in Bitcoin the whole way through. I know there's more money to make in altcoins, but at the same time, you can't always pick altcoins. And I also don't want to have, my portfolio allocation spread too thinly.
Sure.
Across heaps of assets, because it gets too messy and end up just having shrapnel bloody in different things. And
just reminiscent of the last cycle, hey?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I think it's a good opportunity to get on some of those ones that have strong fundamentals and particularly those top tenors leading into this cycle. And then after the halving, that's probably where we start to see some opportunities to get on some lower cap altcoins.
Yeah, I mean, let's even if we remove 2020 just because of COVID and just the flash crash and complete mess that caused, even just from a monetary, policy stance. 2016, if you look at the month before the halving, it had a 6.6% dip on Bitcoin, and then during the month of the halving, 8.51. So, let's just call that, approximately, between 10 and 20%. Let's just say a range.
Yeah.
I think that's the one thing to call out just leading into this. And there's a heap of people online, I guess the good ones that I've been following, saying you just got to expect these dips. You just got to expect that the capital you're deploying in the space you're anticipating drops like this. And even when we see the market go, whenever there's significant profit taking during a bull market cycle, those pullbacks can still be 30% on Bitcoin, which can annihilate altcoins further down. So.
Yeah, I heard Raoul Pal say it in the last 2021 bull market.
Sure.
We had 11 dips where it was over 20%.
Yeah.
So it just goes to show, and after that it still went higher and higher.
Yeah.
So it just goes to show that you got to anticipate these things, like you said, and don't get too concerned about them unless there's a huge black swan event in the market. There's probably not too much cause for concern.
Yeah, 100% agree. And I mean, if we just go back to Bitcoin, an area that I'm eyeing off for potential bounces or support ranges, prior highs is usually a good place to look. So that starts at about 38,500. So, whether or not we go up sooner than that, time will tell. But just something to keep in the back of your mind, that there might be a move up on Bitcoin. Everyone starts to get so bearish. Like you said, we break 40K. Everyone just thinks we're going down to zero again, or 10K or something silly. And then all of a sudden, a lot of these altcoins just start outperforming Bitcoin, and we start to see some big moves. So that's kind of something I'm just keeping in the back of my head. But yeah, let's look at top movers for the week. I mean,
there's not many, is there?
No, and it pretty much just touches on our point that Bitcoin being down, altcoins are just feeling some pain. So a lot of blood, a lot of red. But I mean, yeah, again, if you've been doing this for a little while, this is kind of what you're looking to see, to sort of eye out what you might be dollar cost averaging into.
Yeah.
Might be looking this to build a watch list. We've had that dip. If we do have even a day where prices stabilize, what altcoins are running 10, 20, 30%.
Yeah.
That might be something to keep in touch with.
I mean, we had like a month of strong gains across heaps of altcoins, and like the altcoin market is
3 months.
3 months. Yeah, exactly.
6 months, yeah.
So it's not like too much of concern to see this. What are we seeing though? Like there's not much green in there, but if you're looking back at the last week, there's some interesting ones like Ronan, which is behind Axie Infinity, I believe.
Yeah, didn't think I'd ever see that alive.
Yeah, interesting, because they got hacked as well.
Yes.
But they have a new game called Aperian God, which is doing an airdrop to Ronan Ethereum wallet holders.
Sure, okay.
And then the Ronan wallet has also added support for Ethereum, Polygon, and the Binance Smart Chain. So, I mean, I wouldn't read into that too much. Like, I don't know if that's enough to drive a lot of adoption.
Let's just say that it does. I mean, what you'd be looking for then fundamentally is like daily active users to go up, people actually playing the game, not just like day one they have a great day and then next week they're 50% down on active users. Still something to keep an eye on if you're really interested in the gaming space. But yeah, I mean,
like catalyst like that can cause like a short-term run.
Correct.
But you want to look at some of those fundamental metrics to find the actual value and long-term gains. Other ones, SEAcoin, did a little bit of research. There's not much to uncover there. It's up like 300% in the last 12 months.
It's weird. It's like a dinosaur coin. It's been for ages.
This would be its third bull market if we do enter into a bull market. It didn't actually surpass its all-time high from the first bull market last cycle, so it probably won't this time. But that's what something I wanted to bring up with you, Pav, is we're seeing coins that are entering their third bull market. Do you think there's room for them? Because we always look at like the second bull market, it never really surpasses its all-time high from the previous one. What about third cycle coins?
Just depends. Like if they have a merge or new partnership, or they redenominate and rebrand and go down a different path. I mean, I guess there's always an avenue that they can reimagine themselves, right? Like that's possible.
It's possible, but I'd say it's kind of unlikely. There seems to be more focus on the newer coins, have new technology, or
like. Let's look at it this way. The crypto space, the one criticism you could make is lack of delivery. But there's always a promise of new tech, new teams, new people doing new things that are going to develop the foundation for like the way we do things in the future. Like that's how I view it, at least. So when I think of something like, let's say SEAcoin's been around for a while, if that team hasn't delivered what they said they were in the last 3 cycles, so, that's going on 12 years. I mean, you got to raise some question marks. What's that team trying to achieve? And if it is like you could say the same thing about Cardano, really. A lot of people are going to hate that statement, but I mean, they really haven't delivered in a long period of time. And
exactly.
You got to think they've got enough money at this stage to make something happen. So
Cardano community is going to come after you, mate.
Just calling it out.
They are an aggressive bunch online.
That's fine. But that's my take on that.
Yeah, cool. So not really much to read into in top movers, but we've got a bit of a different segment to run you guys through today. So we've got this matrix that's very interesting. I actually found this through Collective Shift, so we've had them on the show before. They have really good insights on their platform, so go check them out. But basically, they've shared a tweet that shows like a matrix of all like what would you call these institutional investors, venture capitalists, basically what they're predicting through, because they've like collated based on the reports that they've put out and what kind of they're predicting in 2024. So we're not going to read through them all, but we kind of wanted to touch on some of the highlights that we kind of uncovered. So first of all, a general one, the market and Bitcoin, how do they see that going? So just to kind of call it out, they haven't all made a comment. So we can share this in the show notes.
It's almost just like a summary of reports these guys have put out, just pulling out what they're stance is, right?
Yeah, exactly. So a lot of them are saying they expect a Bitcoin all-time high in 2024. So that would be it surpassing 69,000 USD. We've picked that before, so I guess no surprises there. They're obviously just copying our picks. Listen to the podcast.
Thank God.
Another interesting one is lots of projects will be built on Bitcoin.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, I do like that as well.
My favorite one. We've seen it with ordinals, BRC20s. It feels like that's the meme into actual use case and adoption of the Bitcoin chain. And, you know, everyone talks about Ethereum not performing. I mean, who wouldn't want DeFi on Bitcoin if it was possible?
Yeah, so to kind of explain that, so these are basically what they're referring to is layer 2s and side chains on Bitcoin. So they're leveraging and utilizing Bitcoin's huge network and security, right? Because Bitcoin
and the intrinsic value of Bitcoin.
Yes, exactly. And so we saw Stacks have it was one of the hottest altcoins in 2023. And I guess a lot of people are saying if it was hot in 2023 in a market that wasn't as favorable as it is now, it's going to do well this year. Not guaranteed, but like it's some people are speculating that. And so, so watch out for that space, the Bitcoin layer 2s and DeFi ecosystem.
Yeah. If I had to say anything, it just depends how long you've been in the space. But if you saw the Ethereum DeFi space unfold, it was pretty programmatic. Like you had yield farming options. I guess now you've got liquid staking. If a lot of those things start coming out for Bitcoin, I'll be paying attention. Yeah, I mean, definitely do your research. But a lot of I wouldn't be surprised if there was a heap of teams of like core devs from something like Aave start to build something
on Bitcoin.
Not to call it Aave specifically, but just someone that's done it before on Ethereum doing it again
because it's hot, because it's a narrative.
Yeah,
and we've seen ordinals and inscriptions that we kind of like Bitcoin NFTs. They've popped off. There are also games built on Bitcoin. Like,
really?
It is kind of becoming its own little,
it's an interesting one
ecosystem for decentralized applications.
And I'm sure the Bitcoin maxis hate it. So.
Oh, absolutely. But a space to watch for sure.
Yeah.
Another one that really stood out to me was the prevalence of DePIN, which stands for Decentralized Physical Infrastructure.
Yeah.
Bit of a mouthful.
It is. But I think we've loved this one.
Yeah.
As an idea, right?
We haven't really got into it too much, so I kind of want to discuss it now with you, Pav.
It's been more banter in the office, hasn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So decentralized physical infrastructure. So it's basically like, how would you break that down into a real world application?
So then in a nutshell for me, DePIN, so right now the problem with crypto is it's like not tangible. Like you can't see, it's like you're sort of working with something mystical or magical behind sort of Web3. They call it Web3, right? It's Web3. Everyone's like, feels like they're meant to know what that means.
Yeah.
But for me, DePIN is like integrating blockchain solutions into actual infrastructure projects. Yeah. So Helium's a great one recently. So they were, I guess, best known for creating is it $20 or $25?
Yeah, $20 USD
mobile phone plan. And, plan in the US. So that's like a game changer over there in terms of like cutting costs for consumers, just cutting out a lot of the middle process potential, any fat using blockchain technology. And I guess another one that I've seen recently is HiveMapper.
Yeah.
We're all familiar with like Google Maps, Google Street. So HiveMapper is essentially paying people to use a dash cam to, I guess, record and capture city streets, and then they get rewarded with a underlying digital token for their efforts, which they can then go on the market and either stake or sell.
I love this idea because, like you mentioned, Apple, Google already have their maps, and people might question, well, I can already get Google Maps. Like, why would I need something else? I guess data and fresh data, up-to-date data is super important, right?
Yeah, and it's not even for Google. Like, it might just be some other sort of, who knows, civil engineering company wants the latest street view of some street, and they can buy the freshest, cheapest sort of capture from something like HiveMapper.
Yeah, exactly. So the idea is they collect all this data and mapping imagery, and then sell it to public companies who need it, right? And Google and Apple, they have their technology where that you've probably seen the cars riding around, but this basically gives the technology to anyone who wants it, and they can earn rewards. So you could give it to Uber drivers. I know that's what you suggested, like as a business.
Don't give it away.
Oh, sorry. It's just
it's fine.
That's $1 million idea.
But that's for me what DePIN means. It's something that you tangibly know you're doing something and interacting with blockchain.
Yeah. And it's for the everyday investor, that's easier to understand than say like an infrastructure play.
Yeah, imagine trying to explain something like liquid staking versus hey,
This is
drive
mobile
around with
phone.
this
Yeah.
mobile phone, or take this mobile phone and you can call
Yeah.
someone with it. Like, it's just way easier to understand.
Yeah, exactly. And it looks to be thus far that Solana is the hub of those DePIN projects. So
Funny that.
Render, HiveMapper, Helium,
Yep.
they're all based on Solana.
And then Helium, like, moving to Solana from Ethereum.
Yep.
Yeah, so, I mean, watch that space.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Just another little bullish catalyst for Solana.
Hey,
We're kind of sounding like, Solana ambassadors.
we're just writing the narrative. It's fine.
That's it.
Yeah.
We'll call it that. And so we covered DePIN. We covered layer 2s on Bitcoin. And then the last one we kind of saw is the application of AI plus blockchain.
Yeah, really yet to come out in a big way. But I mean, we all saw what AGIX did last year.
Yeah.
What's that one called? Actual full name. It's just
Singularity.
Singularity Net.
Yeah.
Yeah. Long time dormant coin that everyone sort of dismissed, and then as soon as OpenAI came out, that just went ballistic. I can't even remember how many multiples it's done.
Yeah,
in the bear market. So,
Huge.
Yeah.
But that was off the back of ChatGPT and NVIDIA and stuff like that. But yeah, what this matrix says is all the venture capitalists that have commented on that sector basically said they're bullish on AI and blockchain. I don't really know like where to go with. I know we covered it with the Investify boys. I don't know how that looks yet. I don't think there's
AI.
The application of AI plus blockchain.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how. I've never used any of these applications yet, so I don't understand the full.
We'll just have
use
to.
case of
It's a good little journey for us to maybe start and follow and just update people on, because I don't know either.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I got ideas, but it'd be cool to see over the next coming months if this actually does flourish, because everyone in that just tells me they're bullish on AI and blockchain.
Yeah,
Maybe there needs to be that one function of AI that just becomes blockchain value
that you can't do without blockchain.
Yeah,
yeah.
maybe
'Cause
that's the difference.
at this point in time, it kind of just sounds like combining buzzwords and price go up.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
So we'll wait for that to evolve.
Yeah, we'll keep you posted on that one, guys.
It's a good one.
Cool. So yeah, we'll share that in the show notes. I would suggest going and checking it out because it's really interesting, and you might find some good trading or investing ideas there.
I think it's the easiest way to just know how you might be looking to approach the next coming years too. Just have like categories that you're just going to keep an eye on. Yeah.
Because these guys have teams of researchers and analysts covering these things. So
They have obligations to make money.
exactly. So the idea is you follow what the smart money is doing and the smart guys in the business are doing, and you'll do okay.
Hopefully. It's the idea. But what's happening here?
Yeah, just a couple of news headlines to cover off on. So we've discussed it before, the whole SEC versus Coinbase court case that SEC is going up to Coinbase for listing unregistered securities. We've talked about it at length. This is interesting. So they've started court proceedings, and a Bloomberg analyst and legal researcher actually sat in on the proceedings, and he's come out, and it's still early days, but he's basically come out and said he thinks that a full dismissal of the case is likely, so a 70% chance.
Okay.
So that means, Coinbase, the case would be thrown out. Coinbase wouldn't have to face any charges for what the SEC are claiming. The SEC just loss after loss, right? I mean, this is not guaranteed, but it's looking likely.
Yeah. I remember Coinbase, when they first got the allegations passed on, came out absolutely swinging, saying we're ready to fight this one. So,
Yeah.
obviously they were confident. So,
Yeah, and they're also a publicly listed company as well, so that it probably impacts them a little bit more in that case.
yeah, definitely.
But they actually made a statement in court, well, their lawyers did. They're saying it's like, being Beanie Babies is publicly listed.
That's what that was about. I kept seeing the Beanie Baby thing.
Yeah, and they're a publicly listed company, but people can also go and buy Beanie Babies from the store, right? And so it's kind of like, yes, you can buy Coinbase stock, but you can also go and trade Bitcoin on the Coinbase platform. That's what they're kind of likening it to.
Right. Okay. Interesting. God, I was wondering what that was about.
Yeah. And everyone loves an Elon Musk story. So.
Yeah, Elon and crypto just everyone's waiting for the two things to get more and more
It's been a bit quiet, hasn't
links. Yeah, he hasn't really done too much.
And I don't know if this one is much to read into, but an X payments account just went live on X. So it's a verified account. Everyone's speculating that it's coming soon. In Elon Musk's Twitter roadmap or X roadmap, he basically said the payments were coming in 2024. So people are speculating that crypto could be a part of this. I don't know if that's the case. He came out and made a statement saying that crypto hasn't been on his mind in a while. We all know he loves DogeCoin, but
Yeah, I remember when it came out like last week on Friday, DogeCoin did move about 15%, but I mean, it's quickly turned and gone the other way. So
yeah, exactly. So I don't know if it's going to be part of this initial launch. What do you think? If you had to make a prediction, would DogeCoin be integrated as a payment option?
I mean, I would think about Elon wanting to get back at PayPal. So PayPal's got their own stablecoin, right? So I wouldn't be surprised if there was an X blockchain-based stablecoin to begin, and then would want adoption of that, and then potentially, I don't see why they wouldn't move to making. I mean, if they're gonna get into crypto space, they're gonna create their own exchange as well. So you can do like all your crypto swaps just from an X platform. You had to predict this out. And, So I think they'll start with some sort of stablecoin, digital-backed stablecoin.
Yeah, and don't forget we've got Doge 1, the SpaceX satellite or rocket. It's launching in May. So it was postponed to May, and it might be postponed again, but I'm sure that will have some sort of...
Stars are going to align. I bet you that's when something happens.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because Doge has been a bit quiet, hey?
Yeah, it's all happening.
It is all happening. I'm excited. Despite the market being down, I think I'm more excited than I have been for the last sort of 6 months.
Yeah, and a lot of people that have like thought, oh, it's gone up too high. A lot of things I don't want to buy. I mean, you really don't have too many excuses in the coming weeks if everything keeps falling. Yeah, it's just back to where it was. And if you know what's potentially coming, setting your bets accordingly, I guess.
I've got one question to end the show with. Pav, you always say like you go against the grain when it comes to predictions and things. Like everyone has basically factored in that the Bitcoin halving is going to be followed by a bull market. Based on your typical hypothesis where like go against the grain, like how do you see that playing out? Do you think we're guaranteed, or could there be another narrative that plays out?
I don't know until you get closer to the date, but what I like to see is like whatever, like ETF news, right? When we're pushing into like what I would consider like a technical resistance level. So like, let's just say like a previous monthly high. Like we kept going on about the March 22 high, and people just like, oh, who cares about that? I cared about it. Yeah. And then as soon as the ETF landed, we went right into it and then right back out. So I was like, all right, this is probably a good sign of good news in the short term not being so great potentially. So I took risk off accordingly. So I'll probably play the halving in the same way, whether it's like we go up before or go down before, or we have the halving and then go down afterwards. Like you just got to have a lot of these if this then that statements. But that's someone like me who's in and out of the market, I guess, on a semi-weekly basis. If you're the long-term investor, you probably shouldn't care about that. Yeah, you should be more worried about where we're going to be a year from now after halving. Because the one thing we can take away is the halving. If you look at like an easy way to potentially look at the market, about a year, give or take between a year and a half is usually when the market cycles from the halving may reach maturity. So, I mean, if you try to use what going against the grain, I bet you dollar for dollar, once we start to get about a year and a half away from the next halving, that's when you start to see everyone talking about crypto again.
So you mean a year after we have the 2024 halving, so about
a year and a half. Yeah.
Okay, so between April and August 2025 is where we'll peak, and everyone's going to be, grandma's going to be asking about crypto.
That's when you want to do your go against the grain thinking.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, next, I feel. So,
like
rather than worrying about too much about short-term stuff, that's where having that mindset really helps, because it'll be hard to sell when things are up looking like this. But, if the same thing's going to happen, even with all this institutional buying, that's when you got to be worried.
Yeah. Cool. Let's wrap it up there.
Let's do it.
Cool. Nice, short, sweet episode today.
That was a good one.
Yeah, I like it.
Look forward to the next one.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot to talk about next week.
I think so.
And we'll catch you there.
Cheers.
See ya.